Not even the rain and cold of late afternoon could destroy the glamour of the boat race. Old and young, everybody takes sides, and for one day in the year, you're definitely Oxford or Cambridge. Even visitors get the fever. Spotting the winner is quite a bit easier than in the Grand National, but as the crews waited at the stake boats, there was the usual speculation as to which would be first at Mortlake. Oxford, nearest the camera, won the toss and chose the Surrey side of the river. Right from the word go, Cambridge set a cracking pace. Not even the oldest rowing men could remember such smooth water. There was no wind, practically no tide running. Had there been normal training opportunities, a record time might have been set. Among the privileged few following the race in launches was film star Paulette Goddard, over here to make a picture. The Cambridge stroke Richardson set out to establish a commanding lead early on, to offset the advantage the Surrey station gave to Oxford. The dark blues fell behind, and Cambridge were 3.5 lengths in front at Hammersmith Bridge. Even at this stage, there was little chance that they could be seriously challenged. When Barnesbridge hove in sight, it was only a question of by how much Oxford would be behind. As the much lighter crew, the dark blues had suffered more than their opponents from the comparative lack of training resulting from the recent bad weather. At Mortlake, it was more like a procession than a race. Still far from exhausted, Cambridge were a good 10 lengths in front when they passed the post. Oxford were pretty well all in. To the surprise of many good judges, they were outclassed from the beginning and never once looked like making a race of it. Cambridge had wiped out the stain of last year's defeat. There was a salute of 31 guns when Viscount Mountbatten arrived at Palam Airport. It was the beginning of the final chapter of British rule in India. 89 years have passed since the exalted office of Viceroy was instituted. Lord Mountbatten will be the last holder of that title. To Pandit Nehru and his colleagues in the government of India, the new Viceroy will hand over 14 months from now. Men of the 14th Punjab Regiment and of the British and Indian Air Forces formed the Guard, mounted in honor of the Viceroy. Among them were men who fought under him in the Southeast Asia Command. To Viceroy House, Lord and Lady Mountbatten proceeded from the airport. Here the Viceroy designate entered the state carriage and drove to Durbar Hall to be officially received by the retiring office holder, Lord Wiswell. Viscount Mountbatten is 20th in the line of the illustrious men who in India have represented the crown. He goes to Delhi to reconcile, if it is humanly possible, the acute differences between Hindu and Muslim which stand in the way of the peaceful government of India. Lord Wiswell retires because, it is believed, he does not see eye to eye with the home government over the early transfer of power to the Indians. He and Lady Wiswell stood at the entrance of Durbar Hall to receive their successors. Upon the still youthful shoulders of the new Viceroy now rests one of the greatest responsibilities of the whole political world, the pacific transfer of authority into the hands of India. If he succeeds, future generations will bless the name of Viscount Mountbatten. $300,000 people whose sporting enthusiasm even a blizzard would not have daunted crowded the famous Aintree course for the most famous steeplechase in the world. There were 57 runners, biggest field for 18 years. Nevertheless, 300,000 optimists on the course, and several millions of it, attempted the impossible and tried to pick the winner. To the dismay of his supporters, last year's winner, Lovely Cottage, was withdrawn from the race. Favourite again, despite the expensive failure 12 months ago, was Prince Regent, carrying top weight of 12 stone 7. Bricette, firmly supported in the north of England, carried 11 stone 1. Punters who know their Aintree were doubtful about top weights. 2 hours of heavy rain in the morning had made the going heavy, conferring a big advantage on the animals more lightly handicapped. Bookies were in a jovial mood. The more it rained, the more likely was it that an outsider would win the National, and the fortunes that fell to the ring over the Lincoln be more than doubled. The handsome Prince Regent looked in fine pettle. Luan Casca had legions of admirers and advanced to fourth favourite some hours before the start. Lord Bister's Parthenon was fancied in many quarters, but now all eyes were on the starter gate, and considering the large field, it was in surprisingly short time that the 57 were got into line, all set for a perfect start. On they went over the first of Aintree's 30 jumps, 16 on the first circuit of the course, 14 on the second. 4.5 miles, studded with such obstacles, severely tries the finest steeplechasers under the best conditions. With today's heavy going, it was not expected that many runners would be in the race at the finish. Beecher's Brook, Lockcon, Domino, Kilnaglory, and Housewarmer led the field. Canal Turn. Both riders and horses are tested here to the full. As soon as they're over the jump, they have to negotiate an abrupt turn to the left. At Valentine's Brook, the slow-motion camera again enables us to analyze the excellent horsemanship brought out at Aintree as nowhere else. Already, barely halfway round the first circuit, the field had thinned out. At the water jump, Lockcon, Musical Lad, Kilnaglory, Domino, and Prince Regent were in the front. And now they came round the bend to go round Aintree for the second time. Lockcon was leading, much to the delight of the strong Irish contingent represented in the crowd. Nearly every jump now was taking its toll. The half dozen or so loose horses up with the leaders increased the hazards. At Features for the second time, it was still Lockcon in the lead, Bricette, Kilnaglory, Musical Lad, and Prince Regent keeping him close company. Almost unnoticed just behind them was another Irish hope, Cahoo. At the canal turn, Bricette came a cropper, and Cahoo moved up to second place. Jumps from the winning post, Cahoo went into the lead. The 100-to-1 outsider made all the running. If the horse would stay, Eddie Dempsey had the race in his pocket, and stay he did. Cahoo actually stepped up his pace till 20 lengths yawned between him and Lockcon. It was one more added to the long list of Irish victories in the blue ribbon of steeplechasing. J.J. McDowell achieved the dearest ambition of every Irish lover of steeplechasing. His horse had won the Grand National.